Are we on? Good. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Shh. Thank you for somebody who said hi. Thank you. It's good to see some of my motor carriers people back there. And good. Good morning. You are hopefully in the right section. We're in session number 64. This is, you took the StrengthsFinder assessment. Now what? This is a great class. If I move over here, can everybody hear me? I know your mic won't pick it up that well, but are you? It doesn't get recorded. That's okay. I'm just moderating. So if everybody can hear me, I'm way more comfortable here.
Because you can use that if you
Oh,
want.
we've got this one.
Yes, we do.
Are we there? Okay. Hey, now I'm recorded.
That'll make it easier for my friend Ryan.
There we go. My name is Matt Allred. I don't know, maybe you haven't heard of me. I'm the new internal communications manager here at UDOT. My job is to make sure that we talk to each other. And we're really, really good at talking to the outside. You guys know that as an organization, we are one of the shining stars when it comes to DOTs in the nation because we're really good at telling other people what we do. Now it's time for us to kind of turn that around and tell each other what we do better and teach each other about ourselves. So I'm going to introduce our two speakers, and I'm going to give a little bit of a background on what we're doing here with the StrengthsFinder test, and then I will turn the time over to Cheryl. Okay? So, and hopefully this is if you have questions anywhere along the way, and I'm sure Sid and Cheryl are going to tell you this, speak up. This is one of these things where we want you to be engaged and be part of the class. So, couple just housekeeping things. If you have your phone and it's not on silent, shame on you. It should be. Please turn it to silent. And I get it. We're all working. We have calls that come in. If you need to take a call, just be respectful of everybody else and take it outside. I have sat through one of these classes with the guy next to me speaking at full volume, his phone call. And I didn't need to know about it. Just take it outside. So, okay, our two presenters. There's Sydney Jack. Is it Jax? Jakes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know her as Sid because that's how she was introduced to me. Sydney's often referred to as the engineer with a personality. Hey, that's good. Right? Sydney loves to bake chocolate chip cookies. She grew up on a farm in Montana, and she's CEO of Jakes & Associates and loves being a wife and a mom to 4 amazing kids. So this is Sid with the orange on. Love the orange.
Thank you.
Hopefully everybody was here yesterday and you know why she's wearing orange.
That's right.
And then this is Cheryl Wild. And Cheryl came to Jakes & Associates from a background in corporate training and development. Today, she works alongside Sydney to help clients increase their productivity by facilitating partnering, team building, and other related courses. So the StrengthsFinder thing is something that's near and dear to me. If you've been at UDOT, hopefully you know a little bit of what this is. Hopefully you're in this class because you've taken the StrengthsFinder test. Is there anybody in here that has not taken the StrengthsFinder test? You can be honest, raise your hand, it's okay. All right, that's good. No, that's good. You're gonna learn a little bit about what it is. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a background and kind of a little bit of a background of why we're using it here at UDOT. And then they're gonna kind of take you to the next level. One thing to keep in mind, and do we have a whiteboard? We don't have a whiteboard in here. If you have questions, you can talk to them. You can always talk to me. Give me a phone call. We're trying to spread this out within the organization. And a couple weeks ago, we did motor carriers. We've done right-of-way. We've done as groups. We do in StrengthsFinder assessments. But about 25 years ago, Gallup, the research company, has everybody heard of Gallup? They do the political polls. That's typically where we hear Gallup. Gallup decided they wanted to start finding out really what makes us tick. What makes people make the decisions that they make. So they sat down, they did a face-to-face conversation with over 2 million people. And of these 2 million people, they said, what makes you you? What makes you unique? And people started to give answers. Some people would say, oh, I like moderating in front of a crowd. Or some people would say, I like singing. Or I like reading. I like learning. And from all these answers, Gallup started to pull down all these answers and group them together into themes. And they came up with 34 different themes of what makes us us. So the StrengthsFinder test is a test. It's kind of random. If you've taken it recently, there's 147 questions, right? Totally random. My favorite question in there, I think it says, would you rather be on a boat? And on the other side of the scale is, or would you rather listen to music? They have nothing to do with one another. They really don't. But the test wants to see which way are you going to be? Are you going to be closer to the boat side, or are you going to be closer to the music side? And I think if I remember right, I went right down the middle. I was like, well, geez, can I do both? Can I listen to music on a boat? And so this test goes through. It's 147 questions. And at the end, it gives you your 5 top strengths. Okay, Gallup defines a strength as something that you do most natural most of the time. So my number one strength is empathy. I'm an empathetic guy. Don't confuse empathy with sympathy. I can be sympathetic. I'm usually not. And especially if I'm really being empathetic and I've been through that situation and nobody gave me sympathy on the back end of it, you'll get understanding from me, but you're not going to get, oh, I'm sorry, life's hard. It is, right? Life's tough, guys. We've all got jobs and families, and I get that. So that's where my empathy comes in. But just to tell you how unique this test is and how cool this test is, over 14 million people have taken this test. Okay, of the Fortune 1000 companies, 680 of them have purchased StrengthsFinder through the company to use within their company. Big notable companies that use this program are Google, and I don't know how much you'll talk about this, Sydney, but Google uses it, Facebook uses it. They've found that we are 6 times more productive, we're 6 times more likely to be engaged in our job if we're using our strengths. So that's kind of the power behind this. At UDOT, we understand that. And we understand that this is a huge part of the culture. We want this to be a huge part of our culture. We want people to come to work happy to come to work. We want them to do what they do well. So 14 million people have taken it. The odds of you having the same 5 strengths in the same order as somebody else is 1 in 33.8 million. So it's very unique to you. And then the odds of you having the same 5 in a different order is 1 in 282,000. So keep that in mind. Learn a lot. We're excited to have these guys as a tag team here. And if you have any questions, raise your hand. Talk up, right? Okay.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Oh, sign-up sheets are going to go around, too, so make sure you sign up.
Is there anybody that came in and didn't get a handout? I think there's a couple of people. Okay, what we're going to do now is, if you have taken the StrengthsFinder already, stand up. Okay? If you can tell me what your top 5 strengths are, continue standing. If you can't, sit down. Wow! For real? You guys all know what they are? See if I have enough popcorn. We're going to bring prizes, you guys. Here, you want to help me? That is awesome. Who will share theirs?
Sure. Positivity, woo, communication, strategic, and relator.
Nice. We have 2 in common. We should be friends. Yay. Anybody else? What are yours?
Sympathy, woo, positivity, communications, and harmony.
Ideation, strategic, learner, responsibility, and achiever.
Restorative, empathy, communication, individualization, and consistency.
Okay. I have achiever, positivity, harmony, includer, and consistency.
Input, intellection, woo, communication, and context.
There is a lot of woo going on around here. All right, thank you. We just want to make sure you got a prize if you actually knew what your strengths were. So,
Are we good?
Okay, so right at the moment, I am so grateful that we have Ryan, whose strength is audio-visual connection. This is awesome. So I'm going to tell you, there was a slide up there that said, right, just the title of the class. You guys all saw that one. So the next slide, pretend you're seeing it, says, why am I here? okay? And I'm talking about me here. So the question is, why am I here? Is it because I am the all-knowing, wise StrengthsFinder expert? And the answer to that would be absolutely not. The answer would be that I'm just like you guys. I am right there with you. So over the years, I've been just like everybody else. I've taken all of the personality tests and the color ones and all the things that kind of tell us who we are. And I had the opportunity to do the StrengthsFinder test. My husband had done it several years ago, and then we decided to do it as a company. And I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was fascinating that they could pinpoint me to that kind of thing. It was fun reading through it with my family, and the head nods, and they, oh yeah, that's totally you, you know. And I totally embraced my woo. Okay, that was definitely one of mine. Good. I'm glad to hear that. So I just kind of started looking into it a little bit more. As a company, we decided we wanted to see what more we could learn about it, just delve into it just a little bit deeper. And then we decided, well, we might as well go ahead and take that step of kind of getting into the coaching part of it and getting the coaching materials and that sort of thing. So I've done a lot of research on what other companies have done. We've done a lot of stuff within our own company, just with myself, my family, that kind of thing. But really, I'm just like you. I just want to know a little bit more. And what is it that I can do that would improve myself and improve our company because of that? So the next slide says StrengthsFinder 101, all right? It's just the basic, what is it we need to know? Matt did a great job of kind of summarizing what the test is and what the point is, right? That it's going to kind of pull out of you, figure out what it is that makes you tick, what makes you do what you're going to do. But the one really important distinction you need to make is that when you take the test, when you do the assessment, what it's giving you is a list of what they consider to be your talents, okay? They didn't say, this is your strength. And they make a pretty clear distinction of that in the book. But the fact that they named it StrengthsFinder makes you kind of, which is a really hard word to say, by the way, so if I mess it up, sorry. But they make the distinction of saying that we're going to tell you what your natural abilities, your natural talents, the things that you instinctually do. When you took that test and you just quickly had to answer, this is how you respond. What you choose to do with that is up to you. And so it's your job to take that, oh, I'm so glad you get to see the elephant that's on there at least, to find your strengths based on that. Is everybody good with that? So in the book, there is one of my favorite things in my side life. I mean, I have several side lives. I do the mom thing, but for about the last 16 years, I've been an after-school math tutor. And so there is that math side of me that I really enjoy. And in the book, it shows you there's a little multiplication problem that shows at the top, talent times investment equals a strength. Oh, boy, it's right there. Thanks, Ryan. You can have a cookie, because you were probably very stressed about that, and I wasn't so much, but thank you. Okay, so I love this because it's the whole idea of what happens when you multiply by powers. I love to make the analogy that it's the idea if you have a savings account and every single week you put in $5, okay? This is that perfect linear problem example. Every single week you put in $5 and it continues to grow, but it's not going to grow, you're not going to get rich that way, right? You're just going to consistently save. If, however, you have the opportunity to put something in there that has some sort of exponential growth, where it's multiplied on a regular basis. This is the idea where you take the penny and you double it every day, and it just rapidly shoots up, and you have that kind of, that's how people get rich, the whole compound interest idea. That when you're multiplying something by, a larger number, it's going to get bigger faster. So if you already start with your talents, your natural abilities, and then you put your entire heart and soul, all of that time, effort, investment in there, you're going to come up with what is powerful, with a strength that really makes a difference. Okay, does everybody remember that part from the book? So that's kind of where we're going to end. Well, that's about as much as I'm going to say about the basic part. Go ahead to the next one. So this is what Matt was talking about. This is where, again, that math nerd side of me, that says if you take those 34 themes and all you do is just grab them in bunches of 5, any bunch of 5, that's where you get the 278,000 different choices. But if you take those 5 themes and you put them in order, you put them in order of dominance, there are 33 million plus different combinations that you can come up with. And the reason that I tell you that is that sometimes people, and if you talk about how many of you have done the like color coding personality kind of thing? You know, that we all know. I'm kind of a dead red blue split. My husband's so white, he's white. So, but there's kind of 4 categories, right? With this has nothing to do with pigeonholing you. This has nothing to do with saying this is what you are and you can never change. This has to do with saying, wow, you are so extraordinarily unique that you're 1 out of 33 million that's going to look like this and act like this. And if you're that, what is it you can contribute to the rest of the world? That's kind of a powerful thought when you think about it, that those 33 million.
Cheryl, can I just say something?
Yes.
What's interesting, too, is I've only seen it happen once. I've seen the same 5 in the same order once. But what's amazing is even if you have the same 5 in the same order, you're not the same person, right? You've got different backgrounds and different upbringings, and so you have that extra bit of uniqueness that comes to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even just in whatever job you're in, you're going to bring different things to that particular job's responsibilities. Yes, sir?
Well, and also that limits it only to your top 5.
Yes. Yeah. If you were to take the 34, I should have done that just for the fun math of it. Okay? You know, you're just shaking your head. It wouldn't fit on my calculator, right? If you took the 34. So for most of us, we got a report that showed the top 5. Okay, I'll say for most of us because we were cheap enough that that's the report that we got was, you know, the top 5. You can get one that shows all 34 of them in order of dominance. And I love the way they explain it, that they say that means your bottom 5 are your lesser strengths, right? So those are your lesser talents. And then you've got the 24 in between. But they're ranked in order of dominance to show what is the thing that really resounds with you. So as I was preparing for this, and I thought I just had this really clear picture of what this means, okay? So I'm going to show you the picture that came up in my mind. And I really do have a little remote, but we'll get this going. So this is choice 1, okay? You're here, you get to make a choice what you're going to do with that information that you got from your report. So in this one, you have this lovely little pile of themes, okay? They're there, they exist. UDOT made you take the test, or if you're not from UDOT, your boss came in one day and said, here, do this, and you took it, and there it is. There's this little pile of themes that you may or may not be able to name, although I was very impressed with how many of you could. And you can just step over them, you can walk around them, you can ignore that they're there, and you just keep walking on the same path that you've always walked on. Same trajectory, just keep going. They exist, no harm, no foul, pile of themes. The second choice that you have is you take those themes and you make stepping stones out of them. You take them and you say, I could do something with this. Here are these 5 things that if I really embraced it, if I really figured out what does that mean to me, I could go up. I could go up someplace different than I've been before. And that's really the mindset that I hope you walk away with today. You're not going to walk away knowing everything there is to know about it, but you're going to walk away saying, maybe I can take a step up. With each of those themes that are unique in themselves, you take one step further up. And maybe you'll focus on one at a time. Maybe you'll focus it on all 5 a little bit at a time. Doesn't really matter. The point is, in the end, you get somewhere higher where the view is really quite a bit better. Any questions, thoughts on that? Did you?
So while we're on this part and talking about just focusing and moving up, since so many of you do know what yours are, any thoughts or suggestions on what you do to focus, to get more familiar with them and to be able to implement them better? Any practices or thoughts you have?
I can just talk loud.
Okay, talk loud.
I thought it was great when you take it online, they actually give you an assessment for each of that kind of coincides with, I guess, your other ones, which isn't specifically in the book. And it talks about you're probably, leaning this way, or you think about things this way. And I think if you look at that and you say, yes, that's me, and then you can focus on that. But what I really like in the book is it says people with this tend to do these types of things. So identifying
That's awesome. Thank you. And I think that's another thing that I think is so powerful about this is that most of us took it in the work setting, but there's so many applications outside of work where we can really bring it into. Who else has a thought, thing that you've done?
Well, having it posted somewhere where you can read it.
Okay?
Jim got a tattoo.
A tattoo. I like that. Yeah, please. Okay.
I can speak loud too. So as far as like, I think that what you're asking is there a way to kind of use this, the themes as stepping stones or stairs? I think that for me, if I see something that's an opportunity that I might be able to use one of my themes, that I ought to pay attention to that and decide whether that's something I should approach or go for or attempt.
Good. Perfect.
What I also liked,
Yeah, I got the low voice. What I liked was also from the study that prints out is suggestions on find people with other strengths to kind of round out your perspective or your team or your project or whatever you're doing. That was real helpful for me to say, okay, yeah, I don't do it all, but here's someone I can recognize that in other people, those other strengths, and that was immensely helpful.
Any other thoughts?
Well, I also liked when it talked about the partnering with different strengths, and one of mine is responsibility, and so to make sure I don't trip over my own theme and end up micromanaging and instead involve an includer.
Perfect. I love that, and I love how it ties into we can have them on a pile and trip over them, or we can stair step with them. So.
Okay, so pretty much you guys have all just taught the rest of the class here, but we're still going to go through some of this. There are a number of organizations out there that will come and do, extensive training courses and things. We can do some coaching with you that all kind of follow the same general ideas. It's a lot of the same things that you're talking about. I chose to go with what the Gallup Strength Center, which is the company that produces the StrengthsFinder assessment, what they put as their terms. There are a lot of different ways to say the same thing, but that's where we get these terms. The idea that you're going to name it, claim it, and aim it. And what I want to do is show you this in a real-life example that might just matter to me right now. So I have perhaps approached that age in my life where I might be concerned about my triceps because, there's a lot of terms for that right there. I'm just saying maybe that would be of interest to me at this stage. So I have an interest in saying, I'd like to develop my triceps. In order to do that, what do I need to do? First thing is I probably have to identify what those dang things are, right? So I'll be honest with you, till I was preparing for this, I couldn't have named that, I guess, triceps. I should have assumed there were 3 names, right? But there are 3 names for those muscles right there. The next thing I would need to do is learn about the actual exercises that would strengthen those, right? Doing leg squats is not going to do a thing for my triceps. So I need to learn about what the actual exercises are that would help that. Next, I have to exercise. This is the part that is killer. Because you want to come to a class like this. You want to come and you want to have me say, oh my goodness, when you leave here today, I've got it. You're going to be strong. You've got it. You found all your strengths. The reality is, it's your job to go and exercise. And not just exercise once, but to exercise over and over again. I've added on here that you also need to be accountable, and we'll talk about this in a little more detail, and to celebrate your success. So what you have on your handout is what we've got for the next few slides. We're just going to talk about what this means for your themes. Okay? Instead of your triceps, what is it you're going to do to develop your themes? Because we're probably all, just like I'm at that stage of my life with my triceps, maybe you're at that stage of your life with your themes. So this first idea of naming it, study the definitions and descriptions of your themes. So where do we get that information? You guys have named some places. The report that you got when you took your test, and that report should always be available to you. As long as you have your access codes, you can log into the Gallup Strength Center and you can get that information. So if you're like me and you absent-mindedly have misplaced it once or twice, you can always go back in and get it again. In the book itself, they have all kinds of descriptions. In the coaching materials that we have, or some of the things that you will find online, there are just books worth of definitions of things. And sometimes I think the definitions they give are really helpful, because otherwise it might not mean, that word might not mean what you think it means, right? So find that out. Then ask other people what they think it means. These were some interesting conversations I had with my husband when we were looking at his, and he's like, oh, I just don't see that at all. And it's like, what? I totally see that because I think it means this. And it's interesting what other people's perspectives can do to help you understand that better. Use your signature themes report to highlight words. Well, I'll give you an example of this in a minute, but just take the actual paper out and highlight things, because there will be things that you see that say, yeah, that's probably not really totally me, but these words really describe me, okay? Even if you're not willing to admit it. Matt said earlier when I was talking with him that when he first took the test and he got it back and his number one strength was empathy, he said he kind of just threw the book down because he's like, I didn't want that to be my number one strength. Sometimes we say that, but when we're really honest with ourselves, we find that that does kind of describe us. Okay, sit.
All right, has anybody taken it more than once? Has anybody done that just for fun? No? I think you have to pay. You have to pay again. Okay, so nobody in here has done it more than once? You have? But did it come pretty similar the second time? Exactly the same. 3 years apart, and it came out exactly the same. I've heard people that have done it more than once. I personally haven't, so I was just sort of curious. So the second thing that we're going to talk about here on the theme is claim it. So once you figure out what that is, then figure out a way that you can really claim it and say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I want to work on. This is what I want to become. For mine, I'll just share my own experiences with you. My first is focus. My second is achiever. My third is woo. My fourth is includer. And my fourth is energizer. And my fifth is includer. So when I look at those, I love the woo, the includer, the energizer. That's like, that's just what I want people to, that's just what, when you see me, that's what I hope you think. Oh, she has the energy, she includes everyone. But focus and achiever were 1 and 2. And so the way that I use them is when I get into some tough stuff, because believe it or not, running your own business, sometimes you get into tough stuff, huh, Carrie? There's some tough days. And so I look at that and I go, okay, I do well at focusing and I do well at achieving. And I've done well for 20 years. I can keep doing this. And it kind of is a way to give myself a pep talk and go, okay, this is my strength. This is really something that I've built on. It's something, and it really is just a way that I give myself a pep talk that, I can keep going because this is my strength. It's something, it's, everybody's not cut out to have their own business, but it's something that I enjoy. And so being a focus and achiever helps me in that. So as we talk about these, post your themes where you can see them. Again, we're super impressed. What?
Or tattoo them.
Or tattoo them, yes. Either.
I want an exclusive on that.
Oh, okay. Okay, you can't tattoo them. Okay. We talked a little bit about sharing your results with others so other people know what they are at home and at work. Reflect on the themes by asking yourself about what you really love and why. So like with me, like I said, there's some of them I really, really love, and I'm like, oh, I hope that's what. But take that time to stop and think about it. And then, again, like my example, connect the themes to your past behavior, and how does it help you be successful? And then how do you take that and build on that, moving forward, because you've had that success, and that is innately, talents that you have. How do you use that to continue climbing up the stepping stones?
All right, so you named it, you claimed it, now you've got to aim it. Carrie, right? Okay, Carrie, I loved what you had to say, that sometimes when you see an opportunity come your way and you say, should I, shouldn't I? I think that is a beautiful way to aim it. And I shouldn't say this, but I don't work for UDOT, so maybe I'll get away with it. Sometimes it's a matter of, do you change jobs? Do you look at it? Is that the direction that it sends you? Sometimes it's a matter of, do I just take this and I'm going to use it to be better at the job that I'm in right now? Do I take it to say I'm going to aim for a different job in the organization? Do I just say, I'm going to use this because I'm going to be better every single day at what I'm doing every single day? Okay, whether that's at home or at work. So that there are so many ways that you can choose to direct it. Okay, this is what we're talking about with the stair steps, to say, are you stepping over it or are you stepping on it and using it to lift you up? So select ways to focus on a theme to make a difference today. I'll be honest with you, this sounds lovely on a slide, okay? I get it. This may not be an every single day, but it does speak to the idea of setting goals for yourself. Maybe it's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis even. Maybe it's something that you do that says, this is what I'm going to do before my next performance appraisal. You know, I'm gonna work on this one thing and really focus on it. So I put that up there to say daily. Obviously, if we're exercising more daily, we're going to get stronger. But if we're exercising a couple of days a week, you're still going to make improvement, okay? Exercise the theme by using it regularly. Find ways to use it personally and professionally. There, again, that's just kind of to reiterate the idea that this isn't about who you are from 8 to 5. It's about who you are, okay? And using that no matter what.
Okay, so I almost forgot one of my greatest strengths is making chocolate chip cookies, so we better hurry and pass those out so it's not too close to lunchtime. So we'll pass those around. Okay, so the last one in this section is being accountable. So is there anyone that's already had an experience where you had like an accountability partner, or you did something working with someone else, being accountable with your strengths? Has anyone done that?
Well, we've done it in our office.
Okay, well, I'll talk about us then. So one of the things, and this is kind of fun because we've done this over the years, even before we started doing Strengths Finder, we just, within our staff, we have our main staff meeting once a month. And so what we would do is we would put everybody's names in a hat and we would just draw accountability partners for that month. And so everybody would set a goal, and then you would have an accountability partner that you would text with or phone with or whatever. And your goal could be anything from not yelling at your kids to, you know, exercising more, whatever it was. So we're kind of in the habit of having the accountability partners because it's just something that makes it fun and it helps us get to know each other even better when we do it that way. So the same idea with these strengths, now that we know what our strengths are, we have an accountability partner that we just kind of work together, you know, with our accountability partner and focus on what are our strengths and how do we exercise that to continue to get stronger at that. Another exercise, and I don't know if it comes up later or not, but I'll talk about it while I'm here, is it kind of goes along with being accountable. It talks about record your observations and your success. But another thing that I think there's a lot of power in is just having the discussion, like maybe in a small work group of, okay, so one of my strengths is focus. And then to just ask, you know, people that you work with, I see we all have our own little paradigm of the way that we see the world. So if I ask the people around me, how do you see that I focus? And maybe how is that a strength to me, or how has that helped us? And getting input from them on how they see me living and exercising that strength. So that's another great activity that you can do with other people.
You talked about, I'm big mouth, I don't.
He's recording, so
You talked about how a lot of companies do this. Why are they doing it as companies? It's not for your own personal, I'm sorry, that's not what companies are there for. They're there for them. So they're not necessarily doing it for you. One of my strengths that's not a Strength Finder strength is self-assessment. I could have probably told you pretty good what my top 5, top 10 items were. Where I find a lot of value in this is knowing what my team's strengths are, so I can leverage those in the way I look. When we took this at Region 2,
We did it in a staff retreat, and they went around and we each told what our top 5 were, and we discussed it. And when they got to me, one of mine is harmony, and Joe Kemmer goes, bull. And people who know me, I can understand why you would say that. I says, no, Joe, you don't understand. I would say that that is in my top 5. And he goes, why is that in your top 5? Because you are very non-harmonious at times. I go, but Joe, you got to understand the way I look at the world, and this is kind of what you were talking about before, is that to me it's not personal when I'm talking to you about my ideas or business or anything like that. It's just business, and it goes with my other strengths of belief and responsibility. I want to get things done right, and so I'm going to tell you what I think they need to be, because that's my belief, and I have a responsibility to tell you that, and let's get it fixed. But, and I'm not good at this, I'm not good at empathy, I don't know if I'm hurting somebody when I'm going through that. But if I see an outward expression, like somebody starting to cry, which has happened, I will back off so fast you won't know how, because my intention is not to hurt that person. I want to have harmony in that way. But to me, harmony also is, let's get the job done, let's do it right, and get that responsibility. So knowing how your other teammates view the world and how they look at it can help you. For example, I know Patrick's a learner. So if I need something learned, I give the assignment to Patrick. He'll go read books. He'll come back and he'll tell me you've already seen it. In the book it says, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And he can come back and tell me, da-da-da-da-da-da. That does not mean I'm going to believe everything he says, because I'm going to get my own belief. But I will get the information from him, because as part of my team, that's his strength, and I'm going to go off what he gets. He's going to come back with the facts. Someone else has woo. Okay, I'm going to send you out with the people that are difficult to deal with, or whatever it happens to be. But by me as a manager knowing what my people's strengths are, I can kind of move those around and use those as to help magnify my strength, to make me look good, whether I do nothing or something. But we rarely work as individuals on any one thing. It's always teams. And so to me, that's where the strength of this is knowing what others are at, and maybe knowing how to tweak those controls a little bit.
That's so harmonious.
Yeah, isn't it though?
The meeting that Dave was talking about, where we went around, it was very informative to look at people, and there was a lot of yeah right moments, because I actually have harmony in mine as well, and I'm like, I am not harmonious the same way Dave is harmonious, right? And so as I was reading through it, the individual assessment, I think I latched on to my harmonious is I'll go and find experts and bring them into the conversation so that we're all on the same page. Right, so I don't. We use the same talent in a different way, but it's still harmonious, right? Where we're all kind of coming to a consensus in the end, but we may get there different ways. So even though you have people with the same strengths in a group, you may not have the same route to get to the ending.
To talk about the harmony thing, though, and we think about this, I think, Patrick, you said it perfectly, is that we use these strengths in different ways. The magic of harmony isn't that everything's going to be flowers and roses and happiness and we're all going to get along. Harmony, and I don't have positivity. Positivity is way down the line for me. And maybe that is a little bit of positivity, right? We want to go to people that give us that. But harmony says, I can see that there's crap in front of us, and there's decisions that need to be made. And if we can just get past that and to the other side, everybody's going to be okay. And do you want consensus? You bet you want consensus. And nobody wants argument or having a hard time, but that doesn't mean that people with harmony can't deal with it. you're okay with that. And your solution is, hey, I'm going to bring people in that know a little bit better than we do, and they're going to get everybody on the same page. So that's kind of the magic. But I also wanted to touch on this. Why we're doing it here at UDOT is because we want the managers, and we want you to see as your team, hey, I'm not very good at this, but our team needs to be good at this, so I'm going to put this guy in front. If I don't know something, Patrick's the guy that's going to learn it. Or if we've got a sales thing that needs to happen, I'm going to put somebody that has communication or woo in front of them. So it makes us stronger as a group to understand what our group is doing, because a lot of times we think that we're individuals, but everybody here is on a team. We all work on a team, and it doesn't matter what level you're at UDOT, you're part of a team. And so just keep that in mind. I think that was a perfect example of why we're doing it here.
Yeah, thank you all so much. That was absolutely perfect.
Okay, I'm going to a couple of follow-up comments on this conversation, and then we're just going to jet through the next 2 slides because I want to get to the one that really speaks to this whole group idea. So the comment was made, Dave, after you mentioned that companies aren't really about us just getting, for our own benefit. I'm going to argue just a little bit. The comment was made up here that as we are better as individuals, we do make better teams. So I agree with both, that's the idea, that as we better ourselves. And honestly, most of us can't control what our bosses do, but we can control what we do. So as we improve ourselves individually, that's where it comes from.
But you also talked about retention and staying with
Exactly. So if you're using your strengths in that idea of retention and having a happy workforce is a powerful, engaged workforce. The other thing I want to share, just because I think it's so interesting that you would bring up harmony and that you both talk about that. In preparation for this, I polled several people who had kind of studied their strengths, and I really loved this quote and just wanted to share it. This was someone, sorry, it's that age thing again. This was about harmony. And in the reading, studying that very theme, it says, practice your techniques for resolving conflict without confrontation. Without these polished techniques, you might find yourself simply running away from conflicts, leaving them unresolved. This could lead you to passive-aggressive behavior. And the person who was writing this said that that statement, they felt like really described them because they would rather run from a conflict than face one. And the thing that they went on to say is that it's hard for me to practice those techniques because I don't feel like I have any good ones. I need to learn some. I loved that because I thought the whole thing was such an insightful view of saying, from reading about this strength, I could see in myself, I have something I can learn. And I have something very concrete that I can go and look for. What is a way to resolve some of these conflicts? And so that's what we're shooting for, is that you take it to that depth where you can find what is the concrete thing I could learn. And then you go out and find the resources, because the resources are abundant. So really quickly, I want to mention the one that says celebrate your success, because I think this is huge. Celebrate it with yourself. Celebrate it with your team. This speaks to a whole different topic that we could speak on for ages about retention and about the happiness of your workforce, that if you are celebrating these things and you're recognizing the value of what people bring to the party. I love that you said, when I need to learn something, I send Patrick to do it. That's acknowledging, that's validating, that tells somebody I value what you have to offer. I think that is by far where our strength comes from as a company, is we are very different, but we know who's good at what. And so that's who we put on those things. And when you acknowledge that, people feel a little more accomplished. So celebrating that, set goals, give yourself rewards. All right, I wanted to just throw this one up here because the word woo has been thrown around a lot. For those of you who don't have woo, you're like, what? Okay, it just stands for winning others over, all right? Which, my favorite line of this whole thing says that they see no strangers, only friends they haven't met yet, okay? Now, I have to tell you, I have 2 goals in life. One of them is to meet everyone, and one is to go everywhere. And they are completely unaccomplishable goals, but I promise you, I have met more people and gone more places simply because I had those goals. And when I read this, and I thought, that is me. That is me. So I just wanted to show you, this is what you look at when you first get your report. You should have a page like this for every one of them that gives you a place to start. Get a highlighter out, start marking it, use what's on here, and then go get more. That said, I want to jump ahead to the next thing because this is one of my favorite parts of this presentation. On the bottom of your handout, there is a section on resources. There's a little more detail than what I put up here. I put our names and numbers on there. We're happy to talk to you, answer questions, come help you. We've got the additional resources we can share with you. There are lots of places you can look online. I put a couple of specific websites you could see. But one of the things that we found by doing this study was one of the favorite tools for our company. And I'm going to let Sid talk about it as the owner and principal for our company. This really mattered to her. And I think this is going to speak to where you were coming from, David.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys have done this or actually plotted it out, but this is just a tool that we've used where you just take the strengths and you take your people and you just plot them out. And for me, when I could see that all on one piece of paper and just see how everybody fell and how it aligned, it was just like this, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I'd seen them all individually, but when we put them out and put the numbers to them, so we have their rank of, how they ranked, it was just really, and it comes back to what David and Patrick were talking about. It helps us take these strengths and not only improve as individuals, but then how do we work together? As you're setting up a project, you're working together as a team. It's just a very, very powerful tool to help us figure out, how are we going to do that? How are we going to make it work? And so, like Cheryl said, as the leader, this is one of my favorite applications of what we do with this, is putting it all together and being able to see at a glance, how everybody fits in and just figuring out the strengths and then figuring out how to make your team stronger because now these are the strengths, these are, this is what works. And so, again, the whole idea of synergy, that as we become stronger individually as a team, we're getting stronger and better at what we do.
So Sid's really great at the overview part. I'll give you a couple of quick details on this. You'll see down at the bottom it says Strengths Engage. On your handout, you'll see the website for that, the strengthsengage.com. You can go there and just get this spreadsheet. It's all done. All you have to do is stick in your people's names at the top and the numbers. So this is made up data. But I wanted to put one in here for Jane and Mary and Benjamin. That you can't really read their names, but I made the names up too, so it doesn't really matter. But the idea was that you put in their strengths in the order of their strengths. And what I thought was interesting about this little spreadsheet, you'll see the categories, those are things that, again, that the Gallup Strength Center did. They already categorized the 34 themes into those areas of doing, energizing, connecting, and thinking. So under energizing, that second one, this company has kind of a big hole there. Right? So one of the things you can talk about as a company is, how is that affecting us? Is this the kind of thing where maybe we need to be looking at that as we're bringing people onto our team? Is that something we want to be looking for in the people that we're hiring? Is that where we're already really strong in some areas? Are there other areas where maybe you look at it and say, gosh, let's look at the jobs we've done over the last year. Did that hurt us? Was that something that we could improve on? Does that make sense? Any questions or comments about this particular spreadsheet? This really was one of the favorite things that we've come across in the last year. And it was also really great. Every member of our staff got a copy of this so that everyone could have it available and say, oh, what were that person's strengths? What are the things that I could maybe go to them for and ask them for help with? Okay. Do you have something you want to add to that? All right. Yes, ma'am.
Just on a personal level, say your family did this as an activity, what age group would you say wouldn't be able to determine their strengths?
One of the consultants that I've talked to that's all they do full-time is help organization with StrengthsFinder. We were talking about this just the other day, and she said that there is a different test for younger kids to take. But she said as far as the actual test that we've all used, that she would recommend they be 17 or older to really be able to utilize that. Do you have another answer to that, Matt?
Well, the younger test is for 12 to 17-year-olds.
Okay.
It's called Strengths Explorer. And what it does is it kind of takes these strengths and groups them into smaller groups. And so whereas adults, we get 5, that age group gets 3. And they're a little more general, but I did it to my 11-year-old. And I think the thing is, if they can read and understand the questions and answer them quick enough, gives you a little more leeway on the times. Like it's very intuitive, and it kind of helps you understand what that age group is doing. Anything younger than that, it's too hard. It's hard to understand the questions.
It's a great question.
Thank you. That was an excellent question. So the other thing I love about that is involving your family and that kind of thing. We live in a world where, our kids are getting beat up every day, mentally, emotionally, whatever, if they don't feel like they have those strengths. And I think anything we can do to point out, we feel that way sometimes going to work. And so anything we can do that helps us to feel like, I have a contribution to make, I have a strength, there's something out there that I can do. So these are just some tips, the things we were talking about before, what you individually can go and seek out and try to learn from. These are things you can do as a group. And when I say organization, depending on the size of your company, most of you in this room don't have control over saying, okay, I'm going to have all of you do this. But most of you do have a small group that you work with that you could bring it up. You could say, why don't we try and do some of these things? The very first one, the talent map, is the spreadsheet that I just showed you. Okay, that's what they call it, is a talent map. The second one is just to talk about it. Sid referenced this a little bit earlier, saying, sit around and say, this is what one of my strengths is. How do you see me using that? And this may be something that you dedicate some time to at a staff meeting, at a retreat, however you choose to structure that, just the fact that you have a discussion about it. The third one, this is one of those things, I have an HR background, and I say that dirty word, performance review, occasionally, much to Sid's chagrin, because I encourage her to do them. But it really is, I have such a positive view of what performance reviews, performance appraisals, whatever you want to call them, can be. And it is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you, if you are the supervisor, to really engage with your employee and say, how can we improve together? And this is an awesome opportunity in a one-on-one setting to say, I know one of your strengths is blah, blah, blah. Right there is a validating statement. And secondly, how do you hope to use it gives that employee an opportunity to really rise and say, this is how I'm going to use it to be better in this job. Okay? So it also gives you a very structured time that you're going to have this conversation. It's one thing for all of you to sit in here at UDOT conference and you're all going to walk out that door and say, oh, I'm never going to talk about that again. But if you walk out and you have a set date that says, I really am going to ask them about this at their performance review, that's a hard and fast thing that you can accomplish. Okay? The last one of the companies that I researched that, again, does a regular consultation on this, I really loved the quote that they gave that said, this is not an event, but it's a culture that you create. And I think there's power in that you have an event. As I understand it, at UDOT, when you get hired, you get handed the book and you're asked to take the test. There was an event that triggered something. But that shouldn't be the one and only time the word is ever said. That you create a culture where, maybe you have a brief moment in staff meeting, or that it's coming up in the performance appraisal. It's because it's become a part of what you do in that company and how you process things. Just to summarize and wrap up, okay? This is my recommendation to you. There are some of you who probably came and said, oh, I just hope she gives me the magic bullet, the thing that's the magic pill. We've all done it. We've all gone and said, I want to go, and if only I take that pill, I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to look fabulous, and my arms aren't going to flap, and, it's going to be a wonderful thing. The reality is that no matter how long and hard you search and how many websites you go to, ultimately, the successful ones say, eat healthy and exercise. right? Isn't that what they say? I mean, when it all gets distilled down, the successful programs for weight loss are the ones that say eat healthy and exercise. So if you came today and we disappointed you because we didn't give you, the magic, amazing thing, I'm sorry for that. But what I hope you walk away with is that you do have the power to do something with this information. You can take it and make stepping stones out of it, but the message is that you've got to eat well and exercise. Ingest what you're learning about these things, and then go out and exercise those strengths exercise your talents to turn them into strengths.
And just on one parting note, so I graduated in civil engineering a really long time ago. And back in the day, there were 2 of us females in all of the civil engineering program where I was at. And so there's a lot of days that it was really, really hard. And so my friend Kathy and I, we stuck together pretty tight to get through a lot of hard classes. And so we made up this little saying, and it says, I'm tough, I'm smart, I'm strong, I can do it, grrr! So I just want to leave you with that, because even though those, weren't the strengths that came out in my little talent finder, really, you're tough, you're smart, you're strong, you can do this, grrr! It's worth taking the energy, the investment, and just take it. Spend some time with it, individually and with your team. Because there's a lot of benefit into it. So thanks for coming today. Help yourself to another cookie on your way out.